Protecting the sea from radiation is one of the highest priorities in the management of the Fukushima Daiichi nuclear power station. This video focuses on one of several methods being employed by TEPCO and our partners to prevent contaminated water from reaching the sea: groundwater bypass. Simply put, groundwater bypass is a strategy to intercept groundwater before it can come into contact with radioactivity inside the Fukushima Daiichi facility. Water that is successfully intercepted and remains uncontaminated can be safely sent back on its way to the sea, protected from contact with any contamination. Intercepting and rerouting uncontaminated groundwater is important for two reasons. One, it prevents that water from being contaminated with radiation. And two, it reduces the burden on the Fukushima Daiichi facility to treat and store contaminated water. Storage takes up increasing amounts of space and can be vulnerable to leaks. Groundwater poses a challenge at Fukushima Daiichi for several reasons. First, as you can see in this photograph, the Fukushima Daiichi facility is located at the base of a hillside next to the ocean. Groundwater, like all water, runs downhill. As a result, rain that falls both outside the facility and inside the facility seeps into the ground and then runs downhill toward the sea. Ordinarily, this would pose no problem. But since the accident at Fukushima Daiichi after the March 2011 tsunami, groundwater that enters the facility may become contaminated either by coming into direct contact with the damaged nuclear fuel or by coming into contact with other contamination on the site. Today, some 400 tons of groundwater flows into the site buildings every day and becomes contaminated. As this contaminated water accumulates and must be stored on the site, the challenge of cleaning and managing the water grows significantly. Obviously then, preventing at least some of that water from entering the site is important to reduce the contaminated water. This is the goal of groundwater bypass. Following consultation with the government, several measures against contaminated water are applied or prepared. We are building an impervious wall on the sea side of the buildings to suppress the groundwater outflow to the sea, and we will make a wall of the frozen soil around a building to prevent the groundwater inflow to the buildings. Groundwater bypass is one of the countermeasures to keep water away from the sources of contamination. How does groundwater bypass work? As you see in this animation, we will pump up the groundwater on the uphill side of the facility. But we will not divert the water directly to the sea. Instead, to ensure that the water is uncontaminated, we will temporarily store and test it. We will store the water in tanks separate from the ones being used to hold contaminated water. Why might this water be contaminated at all? Rainwater that seeps into the ground may carry some surface radiation with it. In most instances, this is quite low. But TEPCO is committed to ensuring that this bypass water is discharged only when it is clean enough to return to the sea. Its standards are stricter than WHO guidelines on the drinking water. The results of those tests will be promptly posted on the TEPCO website. For more information on our water management plans, as well as additional information on progress at Fukushima Daiichi and our overall nuclear reform plans, go to www.tepco.co.jp/en/index-e.html.